Parenting is a job that changes every second, and with kids home for the summer, that job can be even tougher. So how do you lay out boundaries, rules to keep the summer vibes positive? Founder of Real Life Parent Guide, Kim Mensch, joins us this morning to help out with that. Good morning to you, Kim.
Good morning, Matt. Good to talk to you this morning.
Oh yeah, a little tongue-tied for me, but I appreciate that. When it comes to parenting, what's the difference between a punishment and a consequence? I think that's important for parents to know this summer when kids won't have any school to go to.
For sure. So punishments typically are about control, and they usually come from anger. For example, you hit your sister, go to your room right now until you can come out and apologize appropriately. A consequence is about learning. It's done respectfully, and it's with the hope that your child will learn to modify the behavior. So it might be something like, well, hold on, let's take a break. Not sure why you hit your sister, but let's cool off and talk about it and move through it, right? It's more about trying to connect with them and help them see how their behavior impacts somebody else in the family in this case.
And when would you tell parents to sense when those moments are arising, those moments where you can actually teach something to their child?
Oh my gosh, they're multiple times a day, right? Typically when a situation is becoming tense, maybe between two siblings, or if you've got to get out the door for one reason or another, it's very hard for a parent to maintain patience and maintain their own emotional regulation to create a teaching moment rather than to sometimes defer to punishment. So I admit that it is hard for parents to, again, take that pause and use a moment to teach rather than jump to punish. But here's what we know. Punishment does not modify behavior. All it does is make a kid feel bad about themselves, or, it sometimes creates sneakiness. So we want to have honesty in our families. So jumping to punishment is typically not a helpful, while understandable in moments, not a helpful situation for parents to bring about.
Okay, so Kim, you are an expert, and if anyone had an expert in front of them and they had maybe a teenager who didn't want to care about repercussions, it doesn't have to be a teenager, it could be a younger child as well. What would you do in those situations as well?
Sure, that tells me that either the punishment that you're giving or the consequence that you're trying to impart is not related to the situation. For example, let's take that teenager. I've had a mom recently who wanted to make sure that her son understood his curfew, so she was going to charge him more on his car insurance. She was going to make him pay a higher percentage of his car insurance. This car insurance is not related to the curfew. So, for example, with a curfew and a teenager, you would want to say something like, you broke curfew. We need to revisit your independence this weekend. So essentially what you're saying is you need to figure out whether or not you want to come home on time or not, because when you don't come home on time, then the privilege of being out and having freedom is not going to be given to you. One equals the other, it works together. That's what's so important with consequences, that they have to be related to the situation at hand.
And Kim, how do you not come off too strict? Because I think sometimes parents are afraid if they lay the law down a little bit, they're just going to push their kiddo to do that behavior even more.
Yeah, we know as parents we have to be consistent. We have to be, but that doesn't mean we aren't flexible. So again, looking at the situation and saying what's an appropriate, proportional situational what's the word, consequence that I can impose that will help teach behavior rather than punish them and give a negative consequence and attitude from the child. And also the way parents, your tone of voice, the way that you're handling it. Sometimes parents, you need to take a pause before you implement that consequence so it doesn't become a punishment. You make sure that you're regulated before you hand out that consequence.
All right, Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us. An expert in her field. We're bringing her here to you on Daybreak so you don't have to go find her. Thank you again.